Okay, the Sech the Beya, Daf Chofeya mit Bey is the Mishna on the bottom. Last Mishna was about an animal that was sick, and right before Yom Tov, you want to shech the Maraychappen before he dies. Similar Indian here. This is about a choyer. Just a very short halachas of a choyer, right? A choyer. Today's Rambam. Today's Rambam. About a choyer also.
Yeah.
Oh, same thing. Okay.
So
Yom Tov, Shis Yom Tov. That's a Perikach. Okay.
Oh, you're on three.
So a choyer goes to the kohen. It belongs to the kohen. The kohenim, they would rather chlal it gets a mum, because then they get to eat the entire meat for themselves. If not, if it doesn't have a mum, they have to bring it as a korban, and a big chayla goes to the mizbeach. So in Sechta Chayris, it's all about kohenim and not nemanim when it comes to how the mum was placed. Did it go intentionally or not? If there's a mum that by animal, you can't go to the mizbeach, but you can't get to eat it until another mum goes. A mum, we choyshed kohenim that might deliberately, or they're going to put a piece of bread and the animal will go close to the bread. The thorns over there. That's another Indian. That's it. If it's a mum, it belongs to him. It becomes chulin. If it's no mum, if it's a tom, then if it's a regular animal, then it's going to go to the mizbeach. Izman hazeh, the same halacha. Izman hazeh, it has to go to the kohen, property of the kohen. The problem is Izman hazeh is very dangerous because it's kachim, it's hektish, it's kachim, and the kachim can be moil behektish. The only hektish that's born hektish is a pcheir. Also, you have also meiser that becomes hektish also through something. You didn't declare it. Here, the pcheir, it's born. So everything else, we have to be very careful. Like we had another shir about Pesach, it was mentioned with the Chagav. And one should be careful not to say this animal is Pesach. Right. Because then your mamish will makdish an animal. The problem with ila behektish, a problem when you're going to shecht, it's going to be shechit kachim b'chutz.
But how can your words be valid if there's no beis hamikdash?
What?
How can your words be valid if there's no beis hamikdash?
Still, he does a keach to make anything hektish.
By the way, we're now chayav in Korban Pesach.
No, it's not. What? It's Ari who did reveal it. It's a side. A lion is not allowing us to bring it up, but the dinim of apply. Had there been now mizbeach, then you have to bring it.
Yeah, if.
I'm not going to go into that. The Kirivim Karbonis, that's what that was last time. That they ever wanted after the war, then by 6 days, right?
That was different.
I'm saying the Metzias is today. It's very shaykh even before the Gul, before Mashiach comes and builds the Beis Hamikdash. There could be the Inyan. Years after the Churban by Sheni, 70 or 80 years after, it's time to Yeshua, he wanted to go and build a mikdash, be able to be korbanos. And without Mashiach, you found those two things.
It's not all the ages and like that. Even the times that are Shemim,
depends what they're doing. If you're coming to make a Mashiach, is another story. You're not coming to Mashiach, come to build to be korbanos.
They're making deals with the.
So it's shaykh. As man goes, the deen of korbanos is not mamish a totally in the coming of the Mashiach. It's totally you have to be toy. You have to have the safe support. You have to have the Tmei Meis. So we can't technically, because with Tmei Meis, a person with Tmei Meis is on a bias. He can't declare something as kachim because he can't bring himself. The lotion is Ari Yehud, a lion is like holding him back. It's not an essential problem. Certain things are totally bisman habayis. Certain halachas, this bias is not. There's no yevel. I'm sure a technical thing. The dinam of yevel apply. Kol yishvei aleh. Yeah. Certain halachas are not connected to churban habayis. The bias is there or not. Even if the bias is there, a person's tummy can be a korban. The bias is not. There's no mizbeach now, so it can be a korban. But therefore, our words are very powerful. And a person says this is a Pesach, it can become a korban. That we discussed the time again. The pchayt also, this man has said the pchayt.
There's people that, by the way, bring korban Pesach these days.
So they have over there lost to finish. They don't let them. No, but they don't let them.
Some told me have a lot. There's a lot of.
They're probably trying to.
No, they do.
Okay. Let's say the Shangin. Okay.
We don't.
I hear.
I'm saying there is people.
It's a fringe group. I don't know if it's a serious
range.
Group.
It's 30, 40 people. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. About millions of years. Yeah, no, it's not that you have any rabbanim who would agree to the senior.
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know. Go look into it. Let's go right to the argument.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm saying it's not an acceptable thing, obviously.
I know, but there's people that do it and they feel that halachically it's permissible. But
Those have tchelis. More people have tchelis today in the tzitzis also. Tchelis. They say they have the real tchelis. As I mentioned, bigger group. A bigger group than those going to the Korban Pesach.
They're getting it from the shell. They're getting the guy from
But we have to follow mainstream rabbanim, and
the Arizal is the one that told us that the tchelis had never come back. That's the reason we don't use it. Because the Arizal says it's not coming back.
Even the Shoyim say that they didn't have it in our times. They don't know where it is.
What made it official for us was the Arizal.
Okay, look, we have to get to the issue. So I feel bisman hazeh, is very careful, because if you have a prayer that's born to you, so you make certain inyanim that it should be a shutfus to the goy, so there's no kedusha. But the moment it's born as a prayer belonging to a yid, it's a very big problem.
You have to be paid.
No, you can't be paid. That's a petach hamayr. You can be paid. So hamayr doesn't have a kedusha guf. Petach hamayr.
Anybody had a ben as a bechor, you have to be
paid. The person, right? The person.
Yeah, no.
So petach ben, you can be paid there. Petach hamayr, you paid there. But petach of a behemoth, there's no pediyah. It has an intrinsic kedusha. It has a kedusha guf to it. So kedusha guf you can't pay unless it gets a mum. By kochim, the only way you can be paid the kochim is if kochim get a mum. So if you just cleared something kochim, it's a big problem, because you can't take it away by saying, it's no kochim. No, it has to get a mum to be always kochim. Choyir is very tricky, because it's naturally cut. It comes hectic. You can't help it. And therefore, Bisman Hazeh, we try to avoid l'chatchila. It should be halachically a choyir belonging to a yid that becomes a choyir. By having the goyish shutuf in it, by putting your hand into the womb, making a small mum before it's born. Kamen yonim they can do today to make sure the choy won't have kedushas haguf.
But they've been let it in the field.
But then, how you sure the person not going to be moil behektish? Be careful, sitting in the shadow of it, cutting off the hair. It's very dangerous, because this is a halachas deraisa, and maybe someone's going to shecht it by mistake, and this kotchim b'chutz is mamish kodesh. He's very careful. So upon him, we try not to have a prayer b'chlal today. If someone has a prayer today, it's same halachas. Being there's no base on midrash, you can't bring it as a carbon. Well, not a chamiyah. So being there's no base on mikdash, so that you can't bring it as a carbon. You have to wait till it gets a mum. Gets a mum, the kohen could go ahead and eat it. Kohen has a prayer before Yom Tif, and it's a time. There's no mum in his mind. He's not touching it. It's muktzah and ganzen. Why is it muktzah? Because he knows he can't eat this animal. Doesn't have a mum. Suddenly gets a mum on Yom Tif. Of course, it's called muktzah. Ben hashmashes, it was out of your mind. You thought you're not gonna. It was out of your. It was muktzah midaitcha that you're going to use it. Let's push the case. Here, the prayer had a mum before Yom Tif. Interesting that dinner of bikur, of check, of looking, of investing a mumche to check to see if something's a real mum or not. It's all sugya and cheres. It says Rav went to a shepherd, I think, for 12 months, even more, just to figure out the difference between a mum oiver and a mum kavua. It's a whole art to figure out this in yon. You have to be a mumche mamish, a mumche to figure and say this is a real mum, and therefore you can go ahead and becomes my taking from kochim, which could be kodesh, eating kochim bachutz, and changing it into chulin. You have to really know that it's a real mum. If not, you're playing with fire. So you have to have mumche to do it. So, and also another thing, even if it's a clear mum l'chol hadays, and you know for sure, it doesn't become chulin until the mumche declares. That similar to tzaras, maybe, I don't know, you don't see that, but until it declares. Afmin will be, let's say a person went ahead and shechted and ate it, and later on the mumche says, by the way, retroactive, you should know, looking at the Simanim, was a clear mum. So it depends if it's there's a machlekes in Gemara about this. A machlekes tanoim. If it's a birur, you mevarer a pre-existing mum, or you're creating a new mitzias of chulin. If it's a birur, then you save this person. Yeah, let's say the person ate from the b'choy before he heard from the mumche that it's a mum. He ate from the b'choy before. Later the mumche comes after and looks into the animal, sees that it was a mum. So if it's just a birur, you're mevarer a pre-existing fact that it was a mum, then you save the person. He ate the prey with the mum. But if you say no, he creates the mitzias of now creating the heter, then the person was even though you know for sure it was a mum. That's another thing. Well,
the meaning of the oath, that a mum could come along and the mafreya.
Oh, it's another way of getting rid of something. You makdish something and you're stuck with it today. You have a chochem. There's Eikre, and like Mikores, you have this thing of undoing a person's vow, and that's even Kotchim, it's a type of neder. So even if you made something, let's say today Pesach, and you want to take undo, you have an animal, then you could come to a Chochem and you can mattress and then Mikore. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is what you have by a Pcheir. This Pcheir fell into, this Pcheir must be speaking about a case, what Rashi will tell us. It had a moon before Yom Tif. It had a moon before Yom Tif, pushed in the das of the Bailim, the mind of the owners, the Pkein. It was muktzeh, even if later he got a moon, because he knew he's not real tir to Yom Tif. It had a moon before Yom Tif. So in the mind of the owners, there was a svara. And maybe it's taka a real moon. So it only becomes kadeh, it becomes chulin when the mumche declares it. But the mumche, if the mumche is allowed to declare on Yom Tif or come and investigate and check on Yom Tif, if he's allowed to, then it would not be a problem. Before Yom Tif, I saw there was a mumche, so mitzidi, on my point of view, from my end, in my mind, it wasn't ogifrek, it wasn't totally muktzeh, because I knew it had a mum to it. And the mumche came on Yom Tif, and if he's allowed to check on Yom Tif, he checked and saw it's a real mum, I could go ahead and eat it. But if Taka the mum came on Yom Tif, there's no question. If you hold a muktzeh, then when Yom Tif began, you thought you're not going to be able to eat it in any case, so it's muktzeh. So the Rebbe is not speaking about a case of muktzeh, speaking about a case of royin mum and Yom Tif. Machlekes Tanoim here, are you allowed to check for a mum on Yom Tif? The problem would be one problem. One or two. Either you're tikkun, you're misakin something, and that tikkun, don't forget, the Mefarshim says, only bizman hazeh. The Rashi teaches, speak about Chei Bizman Hazeh. Why don't you say Bizman Hazeh? Rashi could have said Chei Bizman Habayis. Also the same halacha, because Bizman Habayis, there's no real tikkun here. Why not? Because if it's a tam, it doesn't have a mum, is a muktzah? No, you could use it for the mizbeach. You could take the mizbeach. Told the machlekes at the beginning of the Masechta, could you bring the dorim and the davis on Yom Tif? Well, let's say you're allowed to bring the dorim and davis on Yom Tif. Then this b'choy could be brought on Yom Tif if it's not doesn't have a moon. So therefore, what would be the problem with investigating, checking it on Yom Tif? You're not really metakin anything. And even according to the day that says you're not allowed to bring davis on Yom Tif, the din is you're allowed to use your b'choy for your chiyah for shami chagiga. So therefore, it's Bizman Habayis, and you're living in the vicinity of Yerushalayim. So even if there's no moon, it's still possible to use. So then you don't have that whole issue of muktzeh, of tikkun, of misakim, because it was already musukim before it. Come on. But therefore, Rashi says, speak of Bizman Hazeh. Back to our Indian, what's the machlekes? One Tana holds you can't check mumin. Why? One, because you're misakin something. It looks like you're misakin. And two, you're doing a din Torah. It says we'll have later in the Masechta. You can't have a din. You can't judge on Yom Tif. You might come right down. The other reason why you can't judge on Yom Tif. A Rav Paskin Issevehet is not called judging. When the Rav, you come to a Rav and he gives you a psak din, most of the things today, the Rav is really not really judging anything. He's just telling you what it says in the Sefer. He's mivayad halacha. A judgment means shikol hadas. This is what is here there, and he's giving up psak din. It's creating a new mitzvah. Yeah. So a din Torah, a proper din Torah, cannot be done on Yom Tif. Rav could pass kashan on Yom, but not properly to Yom Tif. So for these two reasons, this can be considered the mumche coming and declaring it that's heter or aster is similar to doing a din Torah on Yom Tif. For two reasons, other Rishonim say other reasons why one should not check on Yom Tif. You might be metaltal it, and at the end of the day, it's going to be non-mum, so you will metaltal something that's muktzeh. That Ivy gives two other answers. There's other reasons. This is Rashi's reason. Gives two reasons why the Tana holds one should not check.
What's the way out?
Wait. So first of all, stam if you have a b'choir and you saw there was a moon before Yom Tif, you could have got the moon to come before Yom Tif. Everything would be fine, but you forgot to, or you couldn't get him all. And I came on Yom Tif. Machlekes Tanoim, if you're allowed to go and check the animal to see if it has a moon Yom Tif or not. Only if it had a moon before Yom Tif. If it didn't, it was muktzeh. That's just machlekes Tanoim. The machlekes is not about muktzeh. Machlekes is about royin mum b'yom tif or not. So Rabbi Yehuda normally holds a muktzeh. He's very machmir a muktzeh. Rabbi Shimon normally is mekel a muktzeh. Where here you have, being it's not really a muktzeh issue, it's a shail of royin mum b'yom tif. You have an opposite here. Rabbi Yehuda holds you could see mum and yom tif. There's no problem with seeing mum and yom tif. Rabbi Yehuda says you could. Rabbi Shimon holds no. You're not allowed to investigate, check a mum and yom tif. As a result, Rabbi Shimon is machmir, and therefore you can't touch this animal. Interesting, that we have here, Machlekes Rashi Tosfos, that's a long Tosfos here, but that's what we're trying to do today. A Tosfos, the Machlekes Bemis, it's not such a pashta inyan, because the halacha, it's not a real Machlekes in din. It's just the way Tosfos understood Rashi, and the Mashor says, Tosfos, why did he understand that in Rashi, that he made this whole big Tosfos and made a whole Machlekes with him and Rashi? He didn't have to understand that in Rashi. Rashi didn't really mean what you think he meant. So the whole Tosfos view is not going to be, it's going to be a Tosfos point of view, an afkamina between him and Rashi. What's good afkamina? Afkamina is going to be him and Rashi if b'diyaved, if a mumche came and checked it on Yom Tiv and says that it's mutter, it's a real mum, so it's mutter, are you allowed to do it or not? According to what Tosfos understood Rashi will hold, you could use the animal b'diyaved according to Rabbi Shimon. Because Rashi, that's only a shavus, it's only an issue of what? It looks like you're masakin something. You shouldn't do it in Torah on Yom Tiv. And if someone did something that looks like he's masakin, it wasn't Mesukon. If a Rav sat in the Torah Yom Tiv, he didn't have he did a shvus. He should not sat by the Torah Yom Tiv, pass me to Ruv and Shimon and give a psak din. What the psak din is not a psak din. Psak din is a psak din. The Rav was over a shvus, but the psak din is a psak din. So according to if the argument of Rashi is, if the point of view is, it's only an issue of a shvus that you are doing it in Torah on Yom Tiv, then b'diyaved it would be allowed. The Tosfos understood in Rashi that Rashi limits the whole problem with the fact that it's that it's going to be doing it in Torah on Yom Tiv, so it's a shvus, and therefore he says according to Rashi, it seems that b'diavad it's allowed. And Tosfos says no, it's really not allowed, or even b'diavad is not allowed. What does Rashi really hold? Similar to Tosfos, and what does Tosfos say? It is a muktzah issue, very important to pay attention. The muktzah issue is interconnected to the roi mum b'yom tiv or not. Why is it connected? It's habatalia. A person owns an animal, yeah? It comes out of Yom Tiv. He knows on Yom Tiv, I'm not allowed to ask a mumche to go check for me the animal. So if you hold, you can't check the mumche the animal. As a result, in your mind, you're making the animal muktzah. So Bemis is totally habaha. So if you hold that I'm allowed to on Yom Tiv go ahead like Rabbi Yehuda and have it checked. So even Rabbi Yehuda is very smach when it comes to muktzah. There's no muktzah here. Because I know Erev Yom Tiv, I am allowed to have a mumche check my animal. So therefore, Erev Yom Tiv, in my mind, it was already mukhan. It was a chance that I'm going to have this animal Yom Tiv. So therefore, it's not muktzah at all. Why? Because you are allowed to check mum on Yom Tiv. Mashenkin of Shimon, that he's making a muktzah, but some muktzahs of Shimon is machmir, very, very serious muktzah. So this is such a serious muktzah of Shimon is machmir. Why is it so serious? Because it's a result of another din, because he holds you're not allowed to check the animal on Yom Tiv. So if a yid out of Yom Tiv knows he can't check a Yom Tiv, in his mind, if he forgot Ben Hashmoshe to ask the chacham, the mumche before Yom Tiv, in his mind, there's no way he's going to be able to eat this animal on Yom Tiv. So in his mind, it's muktzah legamri. So Shimon, in this case, Shimon will be machmir, and it will be makil, not because of their opinion when it comes to muktzah issue, or because of the argument of royin mumim b'yom tif or not.
Okay. So why do we mention muktzah before?
Because it's very important. If the muktzah is not here, then it would be only al chatchila. You should not ask the Rav to go and paskin this din.
Why we don't chatchila? Well, how could you get away with video evidence?
If the Rav did it, if the mumcha went, and the
you're saying because it's a shvus, if he went.
Exactly. But if you mix in the muktzah, but if you mix,
it's not mam shavisi.
Right. But if you're going to involve the muktzah concept here, then it becomes muktzah. You can't use it. Even if the Rav, the mumcha said it's good, it's not relevant. Maybe not technically it's kosher mitzad hilchas kachim, but in his mind it was legamri out because he knew that no Rav will go and check it. So in my mind, I'm not going to eat it. And even if Shimon, who's making a muktzah, would be machmir in this case. So this is what Tosfos
would be machmir
not because of muktzah. It's
because of the muktzah.
Because exactly, and because of that din, a yid erev Yom Tiv, and it comes Ben Hashmoshe, doesn't even think there's any chance he might be able to use this animal on Yom Tiv.
That's Rashi. This is Rashi.
No, this is Tosfos. But really, Rashi also holds that it's b'diavad also could have Shimon. So that's the Mashas and Rashi. But Tosfos assumes. Yes, yeah, but because Tosfos assumes that Rashi does not involve muktzah at all. Rashi doesn't bring in this concept of the person before Yom Tif thinking a mumche can't check from any Yom Tov. He just says no, has nothing to do with it. As the Pashta Din, it comes Yom Tov morning, you're not allowed to have a mumche go ahead and check. And therefore, Rabbi Shimon says, if you didn't check it before Yom Tov, the mumche didn't check it before Yom Tov, you're not allowed to have a mumche go down and check it on Yom Tov. Finished. But what would be if a mumche does go and check it on Yom Tov? So then you could use it according to that. But if you're involved in goals to the Isra of a muktzah here, then even if the mumche decides that it's mutter because it has a mum, it will be awesome mitzad the muktzah. So Tais understood that the Rashi and him will have an argument. If b'diavad the mumche went ahead and checked it and saw it had a mum, am I allowed to go eat it on Yom Tiv? Check it and eat it on Yom Tiv, or not? But the Achreinim Taina that really Rashi doesn't argue with Taisus in the bottom line that basically even b'diavad it's also to use on Yom Tiv even if a mumche made it with said it's a mum. Let's do inside the things will get clear. Yeah, that's just a general view.
All due respect, sometimes you're mentioning an idea which takes a number of lines to express, and I'm not sure if you're saying Tosas or Rashi. So if you don't mind explaining an idea, when you finish up, say this is Rashi, this is Tosas. That for me would be
okay. So let's learn it inside now, and we're going to Tosas. I'll tell you what says there. First, the whole first half of Tosas is only saying over Rashi Shita. So we're going to read it Rashi inside. We'll go through quickly the Tosas beginning, and then the end will be rather easy.
I'm sure that just my
no pressure. Sure, be clear. I want to hear it. You have to know how to say it properly. Right, to be clear. B'choir shenofal leboir, a b'choir fell into a pit. Rabbi Yehuda says, Yered mumche v'yireh. The mumche is allowed to go down into the boy. It's a tirche to go down to a boy, and you're going to be maybe touching the animal a lot. Nevertheless, you're allowed to go ahead and check on Yom Tiv, right? To check to see. Why does chap on boy, not boy? The Gemara will say, even in a regular case, they could have just said. Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to go. A mumche could go and to be by the animal on Yom Tiv. Why boy? What it says why boy?
The mere fact that it fell into a bore.
As a treifa to it. Another. That's later. Wait.
He's just telling you why is the problem.
It's a nasty fall. You don't have to send them there.
We're gonna get to that, but that's gonna be later. We'll get to the Indian from treifa. Not the Gemara is showing. Achrein discussed this Indian. How do you even know? Maybe you have a treifa by the fall. Therefore, you have to bring it up later. Some people should say, why can't you? It says here, if it doesn't have a mum, if it has a mum, yala v'yishchot. So the question Achrein asks, why yala? Shecht down there in the mum, shecht in the boy itself. It says the mumche could go down. It's hard, but also he said because it fell. Nipples is one of the treifas is nipple when it falls to make sure it walks even a few steps.
Even if
to
it
make
sprains
sure
its ankle, that's a mum already.
No, the mum is treif. There's two things. Yes, it's even worse. The treif is even worse. If you can't eat it, even if it has a mum, you can have a mum, but it will cost you achila.
Right.
So Al-Kapanim, the reason why it says Yale, because now you mentioned this in Kudah, that if the mumche went down and saw that it has a mum, so it's kosher to eat on Yom Tiv, bring it up and shecht it. The Achrenim asks, why bring it up? Can't the mumche go down with a knife? And when he figures out that it's a mum, can't you shecht it down? There's damn, what's the din? Could he do it? So it says, Gradu, you can't do it because of a side din of treifis. Because if it falls, you have to check later if it's going to walk. In addition to the mum aspect of it, or if it has a mum, it's kosher for the kohen to eat now. But nevertheless, it might be a treif with the fall. See when it goes up into that's just a zaytik thing why it says yalla. Yeah, very good. Let's go on.
And it's not the balabas would have to bring another korban. He owes
no, there's no korban. No, it's not a korban.
What is he owes?
Nothing. It's a b'choir. A b'choir property to the kohen. A b'choir property. A meiser behema is your property. Your thing, it's freeborn, doesn't have to come as long as it's ma'aser behema. You bring ma'aser, it's similar to b'choir, all the halachas. You bring ma'aser to Beis Hamikdash, you shecht it, and you eat it as a korban shlomi. The b'choir is property to the kohen. If the b'choir dies, it's the kohen's loss. It's not nothing to do with you. It's not your loss. It's the kohen's loss. If it gets a mum, it's his gain. He gains a good animal. If it gets a treif, it's the kohen's loss. If there's no treif and it's not a mum, the Eibush's gain. The Mizbeach gets a korban. Yeah. So Rabbi Yehuda says that. So the Gemara needs to discuss in a moment why mention the boyd aspect here, as we explained in the introduction to the Mishna, and that's the end. It has nothing to do really with the boyd. The main halacha here is are you allowed to go and be boidik a b'choir on Yom Tov or not? Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to do it. Rabbi Shimon says you can't do it. He mentions boid for a zaitik reason. I'll already talk it out now, so later we'll just go through it quickly. He mentions boid for a zaitik reason. Why? You might think in the case of an animal falling into the boid, it's tzarbal chayim. So maybe we should allow to bring it up before the mumch even checks.
Yes, not the mum.
Right. According to Shimon, you're not allowed. You can't check the chalal. So they're not going to be gained by taking it out. You're going to have to check it anyway. According to that, you're allowed to be boidik mumen and Yom Tiv, and a big chance. Let's assume because it's Abel Cham to assume it has a mum, and let's grab it. Let's should suffer it over in the boy. Similar to a case we'll have the Gemara later. Rabbi Shua says when it's oisei there's b'noi b'yemechad, there's another isur. You're not allowed to shech the mother animal and the child the same day. Oisoi, not oiso. Oisoi means he and his son. The animals are very hard to tell who the father is. It can't be father and child. But it means some I think the Tana says also if you know the father, you also couldn't. But the ikar means even though it says oisoi, it means oiso. The mother and the child can't be shech the same. If they both fell into a pit, says the Gemara later, and they're suffering tzarbal chayim, you can't take them both out. You take one out. You take one out, the other one's going to be left in the pit. So what do? You make a trick for tzarbal chayim. You do. What can you do? You first take out one, and then you investigate and see maybe this is a good one. Maybe it's a good animal to eat. You know what? Maybe the one down there is fatter, it's a better animal. Take out the other one. And then you look at it, you don't have to shech any of them. But you might even say, I'm taking it because I might want to use it. So the Gemara says here, similar, why don't we also use a tzarbal chayim issue? Not mamish the same. Here you're assuming it has a mum, where there's no reason to say to have that assumption. But because it's tzarbal chayim, you might think that you're allowed to go and first take it out of the boyd, then go ahead and have the person investigate. That's why I mentioned the boy today, even then you should. So the boy aspect is a side issue, not really negaya to the din that we're discussing here.
We don't say the teacher that even Rabbi Shimon would allow because it's all that behind. That we don't say.
No, even Rabbi Yehuda would not allow.
Yehuda, he permits bedika.
No, bedika, but not aliyah before bedika.
Not before bedika, but might we say that even Rabbi Shimon would predict bedika because if he would look at the moon, would be a moon, you could bring it out.
So you're gonna tell. He might say two levels. First of all, he would allow bedika, and secondly, he would allow aliyah before bedika.
He doesn't.
That's going to be the Gemara thing about Yehuda. That Rabbi Yehuda is telling us you're allowed to do it, but you know how you could do it? Only Yoyred.
You got to go down.
Yoyred, right. So it's a chumrah also. He's telling you a kula over Rav Shimon. He's allowing you to do bedika, but when he's formulating his statement of the kula, what is he saying? First do Yerida, then be aliyah if it's a moon. Don't be mile the animal first and then check. So, but you want to say that, and even there you're not allowed to do it. Rav Shimon Kolshkin would say you can't do it. He said you can't even check. So even if you're able to pick up around the family, you can't even check the animal later. You would want to say maybe the chiddush is that maybe you think Rabbi Shimon would even allow two things. First of all, he would allow you to be boidik and yom tiv because it's Abel Chaim. And then he would also tell you could also be miled before the bdiki because it's Abel Chaim. Good. It's even Rabbi Yehuda, we don't say goes up one madrega and allows the leave before. But
that's interesting because Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold by what you call muksir at all, except in the most stringent cases.
Like our case.
And decide that they have to knock off.
Okay.
You can pick it up.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. But that's I mentioned because it says boyd, and it's not really negate, it's a side issue why it's even boyd. The Seder has to be yored and then oil, not vice versa. Okay. But that's what Rabbi Yehuda says. No, it's just funny. Rabbi Yehuda says you're allowed to go down and check. Imesh b'imum yale, bring it up and yishchet. What does im lav mean? That's going to be three ways to understand the Gemara. What is if im lav normally means there's no moon,
or he didn't go down.
Well, if it's no moon, what do you mean? You tell me then you can't shecht. Of course you can't shecht the prayer without a moon. You tell me you can't shecht the prayer. Of course kachim you can't shecht it. So, but the pashas you would say im lav if it does not have a moon, lo you should don't shecht it. So the pashas, that's what it means, but it can't mean that because you understand that's why it's a pashit. So it can mean two things. Either can mean v'im lav if the mumche doesn't want to go down. Doesn't want to go down. The mumche does not want to go
He
down
doesn't
to
want to
the
get escapade.
or you can't go down. It can't go down. Some young guys can run down. Okay, he can't. He can't go down. Yeah. Then
He'll be stuck.
the chiddush really is going to be the
Last question we keep talking
chiddush
about.
is not lo yishchoit. It will really be more lo yale. So, and that's Gemara's kasha. It can be that because it should say lo yale. That word is missing, but that would be the pshat. That means if the mumche is not going down, so then if he then don't think you're allowed to go and take it out, bring it up, and then show it to the mumche. No, lo yishchoit. You're not allowed to take it up and shecht it. The problem with that is it doesn't say the word yala. That's the main thing. So the last pshat, that's going to be the right pshat, is similar to the other one. Imlav means if the mumche, or not the mumche, if they were over and they were mile of the behemoth. If they were over and they were mile of the behemoth, and it comes out and they see now, that there's no mum, Zokter lo yishchoit, you still can't shecht it. Why can't you shecht it? So it could be two reasons. A knas, and bechlal, if it has a mum, when did it have a mum? So we'll discuss this. So if I had a mum on Yom Tif, you can't shecht it because it's muktzeh. If I had a mum before Yom Tif, and now he's clarifying that it's a mum, right? Why shouldn't you be able to shecht it? So he's going to say because of a knas, indeed because of a knas. Or more than that, that's a knas, or what's going to have him in it? Because what's going to happen? You could shecht it because before Yom Tif it had a mum. You weren't sure what it was. So in the mind of the kohen, the owners, it wasn't ogifrekt. He thought it might develop into a mum. The real mum developed on Yom Tif. So when the mum had checked, he didn't say retroactive. I saw this mum that was present before Yom Tif. You should know that is a real mum. He didn't say that. He said the mum before Yom Tif was not a mum. But it developed, maybe because of the fall or for the fall aggravated, but it developed into a proper mum. So in that case, that means it was muktzeh for sure. But you know why we would think it's not muktzeh? Because being it had some kind of mum, so the person, and muktzeh is all to do with the person's das, right? So the person's das, it was a big chance he might still come and use it. So you might think that now it developed ayom to a mum, and there's no muktzeh here, maybe it's allowed to kash, you should. But that's what it's saying, v'im lav. Again, so im lav pashtus means if there's no mum, you shouldn't shecht it. The Gemara suggests it means im lav, if the mumcha does not go down, don't bring it up and shecht it. Or if it was brought up against the law, the din, the halacha, and you see that it has a mum now.
Bianco is listening from the West Coast.
Oh, okay. Hello to Bianco. That's going to be. I'm just telling you this because the Gemara should go a little quicker because we're speaking all these in your mouth and we'll do the Rashi takes it. Right. There we go.
Chavav Amud Aleph.
Yeah. Reb Shimon say just went on now. Reb Shimon Oimer. Kol she'ein mumay nikir b'yid yoim. Anything that the mum wasn't recognizable, meaning it wasn't declared by a mumche to be a mum b'yid yoim, in all cases, ein zeh min hamuchan. It's not min hamuchan. This is where the point of cases against Rashi is, because Rashi touches this is not the muchan muktzeh statement. This word is not muchan versus muktzeh. Rashi touches this muchan means, in other words, like it says, osur livdek. It's not prepared. The mumcha can't go and check it. And the Mishna uses the word muchan. Tosfos says the word, the language of muchan is a muktzeh term. It's not a term of it's not prepared for Yom Tif, and therefore must be the muktzeh element. The muktzeh element, and that we had the discussion before. Like I said before, Rashi doesn't negate that it's muktzeh. Rashi focuses just on the fact that we see the machlekes about right. Zok the Gemara. But my kamifligi, what are they arguing about? In name, if you're going to tell me beroyin mumin kamifligi, they're arguing if you're allowed to check the mum on Yom Tif or not. Rabbi Yehuda Soiv, Rabbi Yehuda he holds. If a person is allowed to check them on Yom Tif. As Rashi in the Mishna is going to tell us the reason why one should not, and like we said, the Shodim say other reasons why one should not, but Rabbi said it's not a problem. And Rabbi Shimon says, Rabbi Shimon Sava, Rabbi Shimon holds, Ein Royin Mumin B'Yom Tov. One is not allowed to check the Mumin on Yom Tif. If that's what the argument's about, V'liflugu B'Royin Mumin De Alma. Let's have an argument. Are you allowed to check the mum, and not say a case of a b'choir falling into a bayir? That's the shayla of the Gemara. And for the Gemara, we need to tell us another din about the case of a b'chor, but he happened to fall into a boy. So, you might think, mishum tzar balachayim, because of tzar balachayim, so Rabbi Yehuda would allow. So lad, you make aram is a trick. Orum is a sly. The nochash was orum, right? He tricked. Larim ul salke to take it up. And Rabbi Yeshua, as we mentioned about the oisei vez benoi, he allowed a person to take up the mother and the child. It's for tzar balachayim. You might think Kamash and the Kamash Malon says Rabbi Yehuda, says the case of Boyer. Rabbi Yehuda says no, the mumcha must go down to the Boyer and he cannot be taken up before him. In that case, look at the Hemshich. According to that, the Hemshich of the Gemara, the mission is going to be meaning that the coin, if the mumcha does not go down, then what? Then don't bring it up, it should say. That's what the point is. It should say, even
if it goes down and there's no boom.
Right. So Rashi is not good if Vishchit. Rashi is not good as Vishchit. So according to Rashi, if the whole point is bringing it up before the Bedika, it should say the mumcha should go down to be boidik and check. Mum, of course, bring it up and shecht it. If the mumcha does not go down, don't bring it up. That's the whole point of the Mishnah. The result, if it's going to be later on kosher or not kosher, that depends if it's going to be a mum or not. So the Gemara's kasha is, if the Mishnah is trying to tell us the taste of boyd in order to bavorin, that you should know the whole point is don't go, you must go down first and not bring it up first. Why does the Mishnah say in the imlav lo yishchait? It should imlav if the mumcha is not going down, lo yale. He should not bring it up. That's the whole point. So it can't be the pshat is. The reason why the Mishnah said the case of Boyd is to Bavar, and you should not think that in the case of Artzalachem, you might have to bring it up beforehand. So rather, mi boyle, you should. So similar. The Ovar va'aske. So okay, to take care of that Lashon problem, it's speaking not about a case of could I go down to take it up because the case is the person was over. They were over, and they brought up the animal. The shaila is now could I go ahead and check it and see if it's geshecht or not. So, you should be able to shecht it. Kamash malon, no, you can't shecht it. Now, first thing, one of the things, l'shachte means you took it up and you see that it has no mum. In fact, the Gemara, l'shachte, hotamhu, it's a tam. Like tziriche, the nofal bei mume. The mum, when Shabbos entered, it had no mum. Later on, when it was in the boyd, it had a mum, and now it was taken by mistake or on purpose, and now you check it, you see that it has a mum. Still, the Mishnah says you should not check it. In that case, if it got a mum esh now, for muktzah, it didn't have a mum beginning of Yom Tov, it's muktzah then. Or rather, the nafal be mum oiver of Yom Tov. That's going to be the compromise here. Before Yom Tov, it had a mum oiver. Mum oiver means a mum that's not the permanent; it's going to go away. So in the person's mind, there was already a big chance that he might come and do it, so there's no muktzah mamish. Later, v'hashto havli mum kavua. Now it developed a permanent mum. So you might think, in this case, that they took the animal up against the din, you should be able to have to go and shecht it. So it's not the daiti luye. His mind was on it. V'nishchite, you should shecht k'mashmo or not. The Rashi says a knas. I don't know if we have the whole time. We're not going to have time to learn the whole Rashi. But Tosfos says a kitzur Rashi till here, and then he gives his shita. So let's first do the Tosfos. If not, we're not going to be able to get to the end of this. Tosfos b'cheir shenofal l'beir. Okay. Just to remind us, the Rashi is going to be Tosfos is going to assume that the Rashi holds that b'diavad, if a person went ahead and was boidik an animal on Yom Tov, and he sees Taka that there is a mum, and the mum that was there before Yom Tov was a mum, he thinks that Rabbi Shimon agrees you're allowed to go and shecht, because it's only a problem that a Rav should not go do in the Torah. But if you do it, that's what Tosfos feels that Rashi holds. And Tosfos is going to ask kashas of that. Says Tosfos. First he says what Rashi says. Yida Leimar seems to be the mighty the b'choy shehoye boy mum kavua mi'esmal. The first of all, must be speaking about a case that the b'choy had a mum yesterday, was a real mum. It had a mum from yesterday, but wasn't checked by mumcha yet. He did not give it to a chacham to investigate. When it was still day. He says, why? The inafa b'mum b'yomtiv. If the mumah fell on yomtiv itself, then vade le have a shari Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda would never allow, even though he says there's no shavus with letting a person check a b'choir, but this is a muktzah issue. Because when yomtiv entered, it was a muktzah. They have a muktzah machmas isur. Bein hashmoshes, it was also from tira because it was a b'choir that was a tam. The lawyer have a daiti alehom yesmoil. His mind was not on from yesterday. Rabbi Yehuda Isle Muktzah. Rabbi Yehuda is the one who's very machmir in Muktzah. So it can't be that the mum developed today. It must be it was there before. He comes to be the saying, B'choir shenafal bei mum. A mum, it had a mum before Yom Tov. Ach shaloi hereu lechacham by yoim. You did not let the chacham look at it from when it was still day. But nafal leboid, it's fell into a boid be Yom Tov and Yom Tov. Is yered hamum chev chulu. That's the Mishna. This is all we explain in Rashi, right? Go down and see. Why Rabbi Yehuda hold this? The roim mumin b'yom tiv sviralei. Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda holds you're allowed to go and check mum on yom tiv. Rabbi Shimon oimer. Rabbi Shimon says ein ze min hamuchan. He says the lashon it's not min hamuchan, meaning no, this animal could not be made kosher on yom tiv. In other words, why? Al korchach leiboy lemeimar the ein ze min hamuchan shehu muktzeh. We can't say, this is all in Rashi, right? We can't say the term muchan means versus muktzeh, because obviously it's not muktzeh. Then Rabbi Shimon leisle muktzeh. Rabbi Shimon doesn't bechlal hold of muktzeh. So why is he saying it's not muchan, it's muktzeh? Who cares? Rabbi Shimon says things could be muktzeh. There's no such thing as muktzeh. So you can't mean muchan as a versing as opposed to muktzeh, because he holds you're allowed to use muktzeh on Yom Tiv, right? So what does Rabbi Shimon mean by muchan? Any mum that was not recognized by the mumche before Yom Tiv, the chacham did not see it, met of Yom Tiv, and was not known. If we did not know up until the beginning of Yom Tiv that it was kavu or not, we knew there was a mum there, but we didn't know if it was kavu or not. So it's not muktzah issue, but it's a problem. Here's the point of Rashi. Ein heterei heter. There is no heter to go ahead and to check it. The ein muchan lahachshir. It's not prepared to make it kosher. In other words, it just you shouldn't go ahead and be beidik it. Why? The ein royin mumin biyamtiv. The time mishum why take ein royin mumin biyamtiv. So the Rashi says 2 reasons why dinira kimisakim. One thing is, as mentioned, it looks like you're misakin the behema. Before it was not edible. Now it's muter. Or you could don es hadin, or like you're being done a din toira, and that's also. Shu also mishum shavus. It's also mishum shavus. Ad kam pirush Rashi. Kumtes according to Rashi that Reb Shimon's whole issue is because of a shavus. It looks like misakin. It looks like, let's say a person takes truma on Yom Tiv. Yeah, you shouldn't take truma on Meiser. Okay, it means you didn't. Truma wasn't accomplished. Of course, it's accomplished. Maybe they'll give you a knas not to eat it today, but after Yom Tiv, you could eat it. If a yid went ahead, it was mafresh truma meises on Yom Tiv, which he should not do. Nirikim isakin. He makes a brocha and he makes a froshes truma and meiser. Perhaps we're not going to let him eat it on Yom Tiv because maybe a knas. But is his truma effective? That means after Yom Tiv, does he have to redo the truma? Not at all. Truma was done. Meises was done. Abidin Taylor was taken. So a shavus is done. If the mumche comes and says that this animal has a mum, yeah, so it's only because he shouldn't have done it. Okay, but he did it. No, if he did it already, it should be kosher. That's according to Rashi. It says teisvis be kosher. It's schwer to learn. Now we finish with the Rashi shita. Rashi holds, according to Tesis and Rashi holds that the issue is only don't do it, similar to don't take Trumas on Shabbos. Similar to a judge should not sit and judge Reuven and Shimon on Shabbos. Meaning, if a judge did judge Reuven and Shimon on Shabbos, it means you undo his whole judgment. No, the psak is a psak. This mumche who did go ahead and was over this issue, and maybe gets chayis makas ma'adis, whatever he did on Aveda, but his ruling that this is a mum is a good ruling. So b'diavad if he did it according to Rashi,
even though it's b'diavad, he should have done it. Yeah. But since he did it anyway, so b'diavad we say it's good.
Yeah, we say it's good, and you can go ahead and shecht it. So that's a Rashi holds, because Rashi holds the whole issue here is not muktzah. The whole issue is only an issue of why it's a gzeira rabbanon. You should not sit in the Now if it's like we say about truma meiser, if a person was mafresh truma, you don't say, oh, the whole truma is no, it's not undone. This truma here, and therefore this is called truma, and this is called and Yisrael can eat that truma. If a Yisrael went ahead, it was mafresh truma on Yom Tif, we should not do. And then a Yisrael goes ahead and eats it. He's chayv nisim b'dei shemayim. He's eating truma. You should never have done this on Yom Tif. You should have gaya lepoyo. A shavus does not change the reality. Person gives kiddushin on Shabbos. You shouldn't be mekadosh a lady on Shabbos. And you give kiddushin. It's not a kiddushin. It's not a eishes ish. Of course, she's a eishes ish. You should not have done it. A judge, a rav is done a din Torah on Yom Tov. You shouldn't do it. You might come to right, whatever. But the psak is a psak. So according to Rashi, if the whole issue here is a shavus, the result should be still that the baby should be allowed. So according to Rashi, Shimon is just telling you that you shouldn't go and do it.
Why is that a kasha for
He just till now he said what Rashi says.
Right.
Two questions. First of all, the lashon he says of muchan means a muktzah issue. You can't Rashi shver. He says muchan. He means it's not prepared. It's another way of saying osur mutter. Why use the word muchan? Muchan is a limited mamish, a language user for muktzah muchan issue, and therefore we must bring in here the concept of muktzah. Number one. Number two, Tosfos Yerayim from Gemara Shabbos. Gemara Shabbos says if you lit your candle before Shabbos, the famous because of Shimon Rabbi Yehuda, and after comes the candle, the fire is already out, and there's extra oil left over. Rabbi Shimon says you can go and take a scoop out of the oil, use the oil. Why does it hold a muktzah? Because in my mind, out of Shabbos, I knew that after 2 hours the fire will go out. Won't be any more Easter involved with touching the oil, and I'll be able to go do it. And therefore, even now, I can go and I can do it later. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, muktzah. That's a famous argument. Yehuda says, the muktzah, ben hashmashis, the whole day it's muktzah. So on there, the Gemara there in Shabbos has a question. My question. Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda is machmir muktzah. Rabbi Shimon does not hold of muktzah. What's the Gemara's kasha there? We see in Gemara beitza daf chavov that Rabbi Shimon says that it's muktzah. From the Gemara's kasha, what do you see? The Gemara holds that what is Reb Shimon saying here, Leimin Amuchan, he means muktzah. It doesn't just mean shvus, another shvus. So from the Gemara's kasha and Shabbos, see the Gemara learned that our Mishna, Reb Shimon is telling us a din of muktzah. Two questions on Rashi. First of all, he says, if it's Shavuos, so then if it's only Shavuos, he holds b'diavad, but we'll mash for the Gemara later, that even b'diavad is going to be also, the Kotel Rashi seems like b'diavad is mutter. And secondly, the Lashon of Muchan is a Muktzah Lashon, and the Gemara Noch Shabbos asks this other question that Reb Shimon holds Muktzah. Therefore, Tosfos is going to answer, he holds like Rashi. Gemara says itself that the argument about Roy Mum B'Yom Tif or not. Gemara says so Rashi is not like saying an upshat. There's a stira here. The Mishna says muchan, so it's a muktzah problem. The Gemara itself is saying it's an argument about royin mum b'yom tefanat. How do you reconcile both? This is very clear. He says it comes very nice together because the shoydish machlekes is a chacham allowed to be vaydik mum on yom tefanat. That's a shoydish. There's results and there's consequences of this machlekes. If a Yid knows the mumche is allowed to be b'aydik on Yom Tif, so out of Yom Tif, in my mind, this is not muktzah midaitoi. It's allowed to because I know there's a chance I might be kosher because a mumche might come along to town and make it kosher. But if you hold that a mumche is not allowed to be b'aydik on Yom Tif, so in my mind, out of Yom Tif, there's no chance, even if the greatest mumcha comes to town, I know he's not allowed to check Yom Tif anything. So therefore, it's a muktzah. So the muktzah is a result of the shadish, the main machlek is about Roy Mum Yom Tif. And then it's, like I said, many achim said, Rashi says, doesn't argue that with Tosfos, but there's two things. From the Lashon Muchan, it's a muktzah issue. From the Gemara, clearly here, we see that they're arguing about Roy Mum Yom Tif or not. Tosfos puts them very nicely there. Let's look inside. Let's see the kasha he has in Rashi. The kosher. Yeah, the kosher. The kasha Rashi. The ein zeh min hamucher mashma da filu bikre chacham. When the lashon says ein min hamucher means even if the chacham was bikre, the lashon of the checking the vacuum. Kivon shaloi noida shuhu mum kavua miyasmoil being was not known from yesterday that was mum kavua. Oy said Reb Shimon. Rabbi Shimon is also in because the word muchen means it's not muchen, it's never, it's even b'diavad also. Well, pirusha kunteris mashma, according to Rashi kumt ois, dafke she'ene muchen lahachshil lechatchila. It seems from Rashi that muchen means it's not muchen lechatchila to go ahead and check. Ha diavad shapir. But if it was checked, it's allowed. That's one kasha. The loshin ezim and amuchan means absolutely, even the diavad is going to be also, and it seems from Rashi that the diavad would be allowed. V'oid kasha. Another question. The Shabbos was after Shabbos muchach. It's clear from the Bahadi, clear. Perakira, the mitam muktzah kamar. From there, it seemed the Gemara clearly learns our Mishna that Rabbi Shimon speaks about muktzah. Why? Because the Gemara poses a question from here. The Gemara, they mentioned the Ma'aseh with Rabbi Shimon and Yehuda about the oil, right? About muktzah and the parich. Mehacha from here, the Rabbi Shimon islay muktzah. From here, we see Rabbi Shimon islay muktzah. And less than muktzah Rabbi Shimon, and the we see from Shabbos Rabbi Shimon is not holding muktzah. What the Gemara answers there is not negating now, but the point is we see from the Gemara's question that the pshat here is a muktzah issue. Lachein nearly comes to pshat. The mitam muktzah kamar. It's a muktzah issue here because it says minamucha. Right? The Gemara speaks about royin hum b'yamtiv. There's another argument, right? Come on. The einza minamuchan va'afilu. First it says the din. Va'afilu avaru bikroi. Even if the mumcha did come, the chacham came and investigated and sought mikamukin asur mishum muktzah because it was muktzah erev yamtiv. Upligi beroyin mumin v'gam pligi b'muktzah. They're arguing about two things. They're arguing about muktzah, but Bemis it's one thing. The Mikra argument is about roy mumin, and as a result, the muktzah argument as well. Why mitura the ketani is a from the fact that the Mishna used the loshin, the yitur of muchan, we see it's not just about roy mumin, but it's also discussing the result. The result of roy mumin would result in an issue of muktzah as well. This is what the Gemara here says. Liflugu beroy mumin bialma. The mother asks here, let them argue about roy mumin or not. The mother is asking not against the muktzah, just saying why say a case of falling into the bayit. Say a case, stand the din itself of roy mumin. But indeed, if roy mumin is allowed, then there won't be muktzah. If it's not, there will be muktzah. The muktzah, but it always follows the lashon Mishna of muktzah as well. Later on, also what the Gemara says, you might think, Kivon the daiti elui nishchetei. Gemara, the end of the Gemara, the maskana was, you might think, being that I had a mum over before Yom Tov, the maskana of the Gemara was, being that I had a mum over before Yom Tov, and now it developed a mum in the boat, and someone went against the din and picked it up and took it out. You might think, Kamash Malon says Rabbi Yehuda, you're not allowed to. So what do you see from there also? Otzoloima means the Osam Mishum Muktzeh. That also the issue of Muktzeh. Vafilu in Bikrei, even if the Mumcha went and checked it now, why? The B'diavad, it's also going to be also. After Rabbi Yehuda, even according to Rabbi Yehuda, why? Kivon she'lo yehoya by mum kavua miyasmail, being there was no definite mum kavua from yesterday, therefore it's a muktzah. Even though it had a mum over, we won't say that takes to the muktzah issue. Rabbi Shimon asar afilu hoya by mum. Rabbi Shimon holds it's going to be asur even if it had a mum mishum muktzah kedeprishis. As we said now, the muktzah also, Rabbi Shimon holds a muktzah in this case. Why? Because you're not allowed to show to the chacham. Now, here it says, the loik adabar uchmi, next amud, we're going to have adabar uchmi, they'll understand what it means, okay? Not like adabar cherta. Now it's asking, basically this next question, we already explained the answer, it's a general question. What's the difference in every place? Machmir Rabbi Yehuda is machmir tvei b'muktzah mirab Shimon. That's a very posh shayla general. At the end of the day, the end result there is that Rabbi Shimon Lepeil is machmir muktzah. The way we explained it before, I already gave you his answer. But it seems that Rabbi Shimon, the bottom line is machmir. Rabbi Yehuda is mekel in this case. Is that fathomable? Could we understand? Could we understand this? No. The time of Rabbi Islay. Rabbi means a great reason. There's a very good reason why Rabbi Shimon here is machmir. Rabbi Yehuda is mekel. Not because in the dinim of muktzah he's machmir is mekel. Because, like we said, the muktzah here is a result of roin mum b'yamtiv. Hoyel is sviro being that he holds. Royin Mumen b'Yom you're allowed to see Mumen on Yom Tiv, and this Koyin, v'yodua, and he knows shemum kavua hoyim yesmoil, it had a mum kavua from Esmoil, im kain, ein kan muktzeh. It's not muktzeh in his mind. So even though Rabbi Yehuda is always machman a muktzeh, but why is the muktzeh here? The person thought he knew it was a mum kavua. The only thing is the chacham didn't confirm it yet. And being you're allowed to confirm it on Yom Tiv, so therefore it's not muktzeh at all, and therefore it's mutter. Dam yesmail daiti hallelujah. Yesterday his mind was on it. And Rab Shimon now, though always he's makel and muktzeh, he was going to be machmer. Why? After Rab Shimon, Islay, he holds the ein royin mumin. You're not allowed to see mumin. So the kohen out of Yom Tiv, in his mind, hilkach lav daite eluya me'esmail. In his mind, it was totally ogefrek. It was out of the question if he's ever going to be able to eat this animal. Why? Because he holds you're not allowed to check mumin on Yom Tiv. Al ken aser afilu in bikri b'diavad even done b'diavad. Because we do have Rab Shimon in certain cases holds on muktzeh, as you know. Cases where you can't say by the case of the fire, he knows that it's going to go out after a while. But Moshe case of tzmukim, dried fruits, we mentioned an example. Throughout the whole duration of Shabbos, it would not become edible. In his mind, there's no chance even, or noilot sometimes you say. How would he know that this thing will be born on Yom Tiv or Shabbos? In that case, he holds on muktzeh. It's ogefrekt in Gansen. This is a similar case to ogefrekt, because being the din, Torah is, a mumche is not allowed to check on Yom Tiv. So in his mind, it was an impossibility to get this animal to become mutter on Yom Tiv. It was an impossibility. So out of Yom Tiv, and like we said, everything was according to his das. His das was interesting. You come here, the end result is, of Shimon in this case will be machmir. It will be mekel, because it's based on another din of roy and ein roy. And after Yom Tif, we'll see, I don't know exactly the times, it might be there, the summer times, to see how we're going to be mamshik this year, but we'll be in touch with Hashem after Yom Tif. Very good.
Anybody else going? Need a ride? I'm going to go to this social.
It's at their home on Union Street?
Free. And free on President.
How do I shut it?
We're out of the...
It has new border.
I think you're out. No, it's already out. Oh, no, it's still on here. Oh, end. No, edit. It says.
Used to be an end.
Yeah, we stopped. You didn't press it there? Yeah.
Figure it out. 1 second.
I'm sure if you exit the whole computer, it's going to stop it, but maybe it might erase open. Avram, you hear Yom Tif?
No, I'm going to my daughter.
Make sure here also.
Well, they need pay, honey. Me pay.
I'm here.
One training.
I have a few kinds of. Coming.